Let me begin as I always do with the official hashtag Joyant, the hashtag jubilant hello to all of my good friends out there inhabiting the globe, or anybody who decided to come by and watch this video. My name is Doug. This is Trade with Doug, and my sole intent is to provide you with the very best trading setups for the week of the 26th of July, because I come this week bearing good fortune, because on this piece of paper I have perhaps the very best trading ideas for the week. Now that's an exaggeration. I have absolutely no idea if these are going to work, but that's what I'm trying to do here, is to provide you with some quality trading setups. Now, before we get started with today's video, let me remind you that down in the description box are 3 very valuable links. 1 is the free DVD. 2 is access to our private trading community. And of course, 3 is access to the inner circle and the checkmark trading system that includes lifetime access for all of you out there that are struggling with consistency. I think this is the #1 thing with a trader. We can all do well in a bull market. We can all get lucky sometimes. We all can string together some success. But to be doing this for many, many years and to make a living out of this requires a completely different skill set. And that's a skill set that you're going to have to develop over time. So if that's something that you're trying to do, that's what these courses at Trade with Doug are all about. So check them out. So let's go back to last week's mutterings. And one thing I said was you were going to get two outcomes at the beginning of the week. You were either going to get a continuation of the sell-off that ended the week prior. Now, I don't even want to use the word sell-off. I feel like that's a joke these days. But you had some selling, a little bit of aggression. And if we were able to build on that, again, markets don't crash from all-time highs. It's a process. And one of the things that the newer traders and investors have been conditioned is every single pullback immediately results in all-time highs, especially when we're talking about the market. Now, individual stocks are completely different. We're going to get into that in just a second. But I felt if we were able to build on that and you would begin the week, then maybe you could move down to some lower areas of like 406 here on the SPY, and we'll talk about some other levels in the other indices. But that didn't happen. As usual, muscle memory, call it whatever you want, the market found yet again another way to shrug off whatever was in its face. It is the master of conquering all adversity which lies in front of it. Back. Not only does it go back and retrace the sell-off, but it makes another high. I mean, that's just the way it is. Now you think now, like I said, let's go back to the new age of investor and trader. They're not used to dealing with any long-term bear markets. We've had a couple of corrections that exceeded the amount of 20% over the last decade. You had one in 2011, you had December of 2018, you've had coronavirus. Every single one of these corrections have not lasted longer than just a couple of months. So nobody's ever really had to fight through any sort of negative drawdowns if they're trading indices or holding indices as a core position. That's why most of you probably should be doing that. But let's get down to making some money here. I'm not going to keep on ranting. Pretty much 5 straight up days here. You're at 440 here on the SPY. You're probably going to sneak a peek at 450, 4,500 on the futures, I would think. Yes, it's extended here. Maybe we move into this week in sort of a chopville, which I'm kind of expecting. I don't think you're just going to have back-to-back strong weeks like this, but you never know. This market just is not ready at this time to do any selling. Now, one of the interesting things we've seen with markets, which we have been highlighting here on these market mutterings as well as the chats we have every day with the members, is that we've been in this phase where there have been multitudes of corrections in different sectors across the board. They've all taken a hit. I mean, even Tesla has sold off. You've had technology selling off at certain times. You've had commodity prices selling off at certain times, small caps and mid caps and every kind of cap in between selling off. But the markets don't seem to reflect this. We've been talking about every day you're moving into this scenario where decliners are outpacing advancers by 3 to 1. So the market breadth underneath the surface is been kind of bearish. That was the title of my video last week. Everything is bearish except for the market, and that's the way it continues to be. This is the formula that we are in, and this is what we must trade. So I think that continues here, at least for the remainder of the month. Unless you start moving down here into the 421s and you start seeing rallies sold off, it's just anything that you're witnessing is temporary. It's temporary until we can start seeing some closing prices and seeing some aggression. That's where we are. The QQQs, I'm going to use the NASDAQ here. Let's just go with the NQ futures. We were talking about 15,000. Smoked right through that to 15.1, overshot it. I had a short position here, but yet again, it was the second time. Had to cover it quickly and flip to the long side. It's okay to to dabble in that kind of stuff, but you've got to be respectful. Once it starts to turn around, you can't underestimate the power of these indices. They keep doing this over and over again. And like I say, it is until it isn't. Maybe 15.5 here. I don't know, but I would expect these weeks across the board is choppy in the major indices. After you have such a bullish week, that's normally what happens. You go through some consolidation, but hey, it's market trading. Anything can happen. I want to go back and think about here, where do we go? Where's the money at this week? Let's talk about this IWM, or let's talk about the Russell here, whatever you want to call it. Small caps, I'm going to call them Momo stocks for right now. We talked about this as well, that in February you had a plethora. The year started out where everything was on mid caps and micro cap stocks. We had the things like Fubo, Fuzi, Pavem, Skills. Some of these stocks we're going to talk about today. These things just went nuts, and they have not recovered. They've gone through a significant correction where some of these are down well past 50%. Now, I'm under no illusion here that thinking many of these are going to go back to high of days and we're going to return to that glory, because my answer to that is no, we are not. But that doesn't mean they can't provide us with a good 3 to 5 day move to the upside. I want to watch this one because this is the one here that has the available room to move. If we're looking at buying into NASDAQ, we're realizing that we're buying into all-time highs. The SPY, all-time highs. The Dow at all-time highs or very close to all-time highs. Here you're not. You've got a little bit of a bounce off of this 200 moving average. And looking in hindsight, I don't even know why I missed this trade myself. You don't get very many opportunities to pick up the indices down at their 200-day, but here it was. Really nice bounce off of here. You've got a couple of days of consolidation. I think if you just kind of pop above this 222 right here, you should start trading back up at least to this quadruple high it would be of 230. And if it does get up there, I would think you see a move very similar to what you've seen in the Qs. If we just look at it, you're going to get that expansion move that once it breaks through the highs, it really strings together. Now, there's a few names in here that I'm thinking. I'm saying thinking because I'm not sold on the idea that these things are going to go a little bit higher. One we'll talk about is Skills. This thing right here is, you're going to see a lot of charts like this. I said, Fubo looks like this, Vuzi looks like this, a lot look like this. So pick your poison in this world. Nice sideways consolidation here for a while. Again, I'm just thinking maybe we can grab some money from where it sits up to like the 200-day moving average. Maybe they can give us that much. I don't think we're in the kind of environment back here where you're buying the dip and it's just screaming to all-time highs. I don't think 46 is on the table. Some people may disagree with me. You've got earnings coming up, so this is just a trade. I think if you get that move, there's some money here. There's a few bucks in some of these. Another one might be this CCIV. Same thing, you've got an awful lot of long-term sideways. Again, look at the same chart. January, February, super parabolic in this one. Has since fallen on hard times, but it has traded sideways between 17 to the low, 28 to the high. It has traded in there for the most part of this year, really since March up until this point. You've got a good structure here holding the 200-day moving average. Again, a nice little lift through 2450, maybe a 3 to 5 day run that takes you to 2671, then back up to 30. Who else do we have on the list? I'm just going over the ones I see here. Fubo. I mean, I'm sure you have your own too if you've been following these. Again, same pattern, super huge January, February, since has done nothing at all. Most of these rallies have been sold off, but still clustering around the 200, a little push over top of the 200 of 2778. Maybe we can go back to 33s. You see all these look the same. So if you're looking at a chart that looks the same, use the same analysis. If we can come up out of any range, reclaim 200-day moving averages, bounce off of 200-day moving averages, perhaps there's a 3 to 5 day run collectively with the IWM. Those are the ones I have here. Let's take a look at a couple of others here, stocks outside of this. APPS, same thing, a lot of structure and consolidation around the 200-day moving average. Just needs a little bump through the 64s. CENTA, CENTA. Same thing here. You've got a nice little hold of the 200-day moving average, maybe just a quick bounce. So the only thing that's really changed here, I'll throw a couple of here that I'm just thinking of in my mind. I didn't strategize beforehand. Nice little bounce last week in Pavem. I wouldn't chase that. How's Vuzi doing? Same thing here, Vuzi holding the 200-day. Again, trade these with caution. I've been around long enough, and I know how these cheap stocks have allure to people. I'm just going to speak my opinion in my mind. You do what you want to with it. I'm not here to judge or say that things have to remain the way they've remained throughout the whole world of trading. But normally these cheap stocks are cheap for a reason. There's only a handful that you will see that will stand the test of time, like a Roku or an Nvidia, or a couple of others who have gone from very cheap prices into triple digits and have turned into what we call real stocks with real institutional ownership. Much of these start out as speculation and they stay in speculation. That's why many of the micro-cap to penny stock traders go to the short side, because most of that stuff is absolute trash. These stocks are trash. They're trash for a reason, but that doesn't mean you can't make lots of money on trash. You just need to know when you're going into these, what are your objectives? You can trade trash to the long side as long as you realize, look, I'm not falling in love with this thing. I'm just trading. It's when you become egotistical, delusional, use whatever words you want. It's when you get like that you start to make serious mistakes with trading. When you fall in love with things and can't cut them when they're not working. When you do that stuff, that's how traders blow up and make serious mistakes. But back to business here. I don't know how I feel about VUSI. I talked about Tiger. I think these kind here are probably shorts on bounces too. So let me kind of rehash, because I'm going around in circles here a little bit. I think you have the chance for some of these to make a few day run. That's it. If you can do 3 days, then maybe we can take a look at these again, but I wouldn't trust them anywhere past that. Having said that, if they gap up and they start going vertical in the morning, by all means, do not chase this garbage, because chances are it will not hold. I mean, look at Tiger just running early Friday and just dumping on everyone. This is something you can't do. You can't chase them. If you miss it, you just miss it. For some of you other more aggressive traders out there that are going in both directions, if you miss these, maybe after a couple of days of run up, they're probably better to be short. So maybe by this week we see an aggressive early start to this, where 3 or 4 days of good buying, and then maybe flipping that to the short side. Only time will tell. It's also a much bigger process than that. My crystal ball doesn't work any better than yours. So let's see how these play out. So kind of my strategy going into this week, maybe entertaining the idea of shorting the NASDAQ or the SPY if we begin the week really strong and get parabolic and start reaching some milestone numbers. But that's a big if. It's been the hardest short of the year, I won't lie. Trying to do the indices, trying to do big tech has been a struggle. So maybe it's not the best way to go. There might be a good bounce in some of these oversold, technically beaten down mid to smaller cap stocks, or let's say speculation stocks, whatever you want to call them. There's a lot of them that have good setups, but to be honest with everyone, over the last month, there's been some good setups and they just have not followed through. So we have to be cognizant of that. But if the setup is there, risk to reward is there, we can take the trade, but let's keep a tight leash on this stuff. And if it does happen to get out of control, I certainly wouldn't chase any rallies. You may even want to flip your position there. So let's see how we do. As always, guys, if you need help, you know how to reach out to me. Thank you for watching this video for this week. Any tips, anything you want to bring my direction, anything you want to say it. Let me know. Speak down in the description box. As always, keep up to date with the channel by liking the video and subscribing. Take care, guys. Trade well. I'll see you next week.